Welcome everyone. My name is Bushra Sarkar. I am the Wheeling Career Advisor. Jen, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm the Associate Director of Employer Relations. My name is Jennifer Ginsberg. My team oversees all of the partnerships we have with outside organizations. So we love to connect you guys with great organizations in the communities.
Yeah, and by now, I'm sure you guys have heard that National Louis University requires all students to have an internship by the time they graduate. So I'm really happy to have this info session with all of you. So hopefully some of the questions and also the anxiety surrounding getting an internship kind of dissolve. So let's get started. Jen, go ahead and hit the next button for me. So National Louis is different from a lot of universities in the sense that we hope to create this circle of support for all of you. Your career advisor, me, we will be working directly together to get your resume and cover letter and LinkedIn, look for jobs, internships. We will do that together. I am just an appointment away. So please, please, please reach out to me. I will leave my email in the chat also, and as well as other slides will have that email address for you too. We do have employer relations managers. So our team is unique in a way where we have a set of career advisors, but then we also have a set of employer relations managers where their main job is to build relationships with employers who will hire National Louis University students. So that is unique from a lot of different universities. So I encourage you to see me, and I also encourage you to meet Jen, meet Clarabelle, who is our employer relations manager for business students, and also meet Amy, who is our employer relations manager for criminal justice. Again, all of you have an awesome success coach. If you are a sophomore, which I think many of you are, your success coach is Sam. When you become a junior and senior, your success coach will become Art. Again, your department chairs, if you have met them already, that's great. Otherwise, we have the list available on this slide as well. Next slide, please. So the internship timeline, this is something that we have set up for all of you to keep in mind, to have in the back of your head. I think that the best time to start exploring internships is probably 12 months before. So that means that by the time you are, I would say, late sophomore year, start exploring internships. Get your resume and cover letter together. Create a list of potential sites that you want to intern at, and make sure that you review internship requirements. Step 2 would be prepare and apply. So this would probably be 6 months prior to when you want to complete an internship. So you'll search for open internships, you'll keep track of your applications, and you'll also practice something that's known as the elevator pitch. And step 3, which is 2 months before an internship, you will register your internship with me. We use a program called Handshake to do this. So you'll meet with me, or you'll do this individually, and you'll set up your Handshake registration form. Next slide, please. All right, Jen, take it away.
All right. So I wanted to give you guys some examples of sites that have either already taken NLU students for internships, or they plan to, or they have internships available for you to apply for. There's a wide variety here, and I wanted to showcase this because don't feel like you need to be in this little box of, okay, I'm a criminal justice student, I should be a police officer, or I am a human services or psychology student, I should be doing something in therapy. That's not how this works anymore. You don't have this one path to take. There are 8 million different paths that you can take for each major. And so depending what you're passionate about, depending what you like, what you're interested in, do that. And so we have so many options for you, and there's a lot of overlap with these organizations. So yes, Wheeling Police Department, Prospect Heights Police Department, Illinois State Police, those are all, law enforcement, but there's internships that are not necessarily law enforcement. There's internships having to do with administration. There's internships having to do with mental health and social services and community services within those. And the same goes for some of these other organizations, Clearbrook, World Relief, Center for Autism and Related Disorders. There's so much variety at these organizations that depending what you're interested in, talk to Bushra, talk to her and kind of brainstorm ideas. Let's say you're interested in working with the elderly, but you don't really know how you want to work with them. Okay, we have tons of options there of things that we could look for. And as the employer relations team, we're going to reach out to organizations that you want to work for. So this isn't a list this is the list and that's it. If you have an organization that you're passionate about or is in your community and you would love to intern with them, we are absolutely more than happy to help create that connection for you, because a lot of times organizations are happy to take on interns. They just don't know what it looks like, and we can help them do that on our end. So this helps you kind of at least get some ideas of different types of organizations that you could potentially work for. And let me go to the next slide. I did want to point out a few things as well. So when you are starting to look for internships, and again, internships, you can start them for credit as early as the summer after your sophomore year. If you want to do internships during sophomore year or freshman year, or let's say you already did one for credit in junior year and you want to do another one, more power to you. Every little bit of experience is going to help you in the long run, because that's going to fill up your resume and that's going to be relevant experience to help you get a job that you're interested in, something that you're actually passionate about. So keep this in mind when you are searching for internships. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of support from Bushra, but don't worry if internships are listed as unpaid. Don't avoid those internships, because a lot of times the unpaid internships, because they're usually at nonprofit organizations and small businesses, they can't afford to pay an intern. Typically, the paid internships are for organizations that they have a corporate kind of account that they can pay you from. But a lot of the really cool organizations that you would be getting a lot from and you would be able to do more in your internship are going to be the ones that are unpaid. If you do find one that's paid, fantastic. But let's say you find one that is unpaid and you are excited about it and you accept. There is a stipend that you can apply for so that you can get paid by NLU during the term that you do your internship course. For our human services students that do 3 fieldwork placements, you are only able to get that stipend once. So usually we push students to do the stipend for their last fieldwork experience. But again, this is something that Bushra can work with you on specifically for your situation. But this is good to know that, if you have to pull back on hours on any part-time job, you still will have the ability to get some income while you are doing an unpaid internship. Another piece that is kind of, you don't necessarily think about it unless you're looking at all of the descriptions of internships. There are quite a few that look for someone with a driver's license and a clean driving record. I don't know that there are internships that I would approve that are like just a driver for an organization. You're not going to get a lot from an experience like that, just being a driver. Manual labor and those kinds of things are not what we're intending internship to be about. But sometimes you may go to maybe an elderly patient's house to do kind of an assessment or to do a check-in, a wellness check. So that is kind of why they're asking about driver's license and things like that. So if you feel comfortable having your car or your license be a part of your job, great. If you don't, then don't apply for those positions that require that. And then we're going to say this 8,000 times, and I'm going to say it again and again and again. Use your support team. This is what we love to do. This is what we love to talk about. So the career bridge, so Bushra, myself, the other employee relations managers, your success coaches, so Sam, as well as Art. And then there's, a lot of other people that can assist. Your faculty members, depending on your major, there are tons of faculty members that are a wealth of information. So don't be shy or embarrassed to ask your faculty member for suggestions, or even just, hey, where did you work when you were starting to get your experience in the field? What did you like? What did you not like? Picking their brain is a huge benefit because they've already been there. They've already done that. So even if you're just feeling overwhelmed or you're freaking out, that's okay. We can deal with people that are freaking out. We freak out too. So please, please, please make appointments with Bushra. If need be, myself or any of the other employer relations managers can be brought into these appointments to help suggestions for different sites for internship. And what's cool about this is that the internship experience could very well lead into full-time employment after graduation. So, don't look at this as a requirement, something that you have to do. Look at it as really valuable experience to do, ideally, what you want to do for the rest of your life. Granted, you're not going to be stuck in this position for your whole life, but getting different types of experiences are really, really important here. So now that I talked on and on for too long, Bushra, you're back on.
No, you know what, Jen, I want to add to some of the things that you said, because this is why it's so important that even though I think most of the people in this Zoom room are sophomores, and even though you can't get an internship, say in fall or spring, it's so important to read those job descriptions, read those internship descriptions, because sometimes you're going to read, say if you're into marketing and you think, hey, I would love to do social media marketing. Maybe you read the job descriptions of many social media marketing interns and you're like, actually, you know what? This isn't for me. So it's a great chance for you guys to learn what does the day-to-day tasks look like by simply just reading the job descriptions and doing that exploration right now. I do want to add a little bit of a note about the stipend. If you are a transfer student, right now the stipend would not apply to transfer students right now. Maybe in the future that will change. I hope it does. But just to let you know, if you're a transfer student, the stipend unfortunately is not available. Let's talk about internship requirements. I know that a lot of students have questions about this, and even when they have all the information right and they know it, they're like, Bushra, are you sure this is okay? So I want to go through this line by line, and hopefully we can sort of, if there are any questions, we can sort of iron them out. So all majors have to do one internship for course credit. Whether you are a criminal justice student, business, maybe you are a student who is in computer science, whatever your major is, we need to make sure that you do at least one internship. You can do an internship as early as the summer after your sophomore year. So if you are a sophomore right now, it'll be the summer before your junior year. So summer 2021, you can do an internship. The internship will require 100 hours of on-site work. The good thing is, guys, I've seen a lot of internships that are remote right now. So virtual work can count. The requirements for human services majors is different though. So note that human services majors complete 3 internship experiences that are 120 hours each. So it's a little bit more intense for those human services students. But what I will say about this is that even though human service majors have to complete more internships, they're getting more experience. So they're, every time they complete an internship, it's a resume builder. It's proving to the employer that they hopefully one day will work for after graduation that, hey, I've done this before, I've done this song and dance before. So with that being said, I encourage all students, whether you are a human service student or not, to do more than one internship. It speaks volumes on your resume. You will complete work in the accompanying internship class while you complete your internship hours. So what this means, for an internship to count for credit, you have to accompany it, you have to partner it with a class. That means that as you complete your internship, you're also completing a class. I know of several students that completed an internship, but they didn't take the class. So be sure that if you get an internship, you come see me, you notify your coach, you yell it, you scream it, whatever. I have an internship, so we can make sure you get into the class you need to get into. You must be registered for the internship course in order to receive credit for your internship experience. The hours must be spread over the 10 weeks of the term you are completing your internship. So I'll give you guys a quick example of a student. One of my students got offered an internship, and she got offered just probably 2 weeks ago, and the employer said, hey, can you start now? And can you end in February? And I had to tell my student, hey, you know what? Can you actually tell the employer if you can start in January and end in March? The reason being is because January through March is our winter quarter. And so you have to make sure that you're interning during a full quarter. So if my student did what her employer initially wanted, she wouldn't have gotten credit for it. So just be sure it spans the entire quarter. You cannot leave your internship site early if you finish your hours early. Hours must be completed during all 10 weeks of the academic term. I like to tell students what happens on the back end to hopefully make sure that this is all clear. On the back end, we have a wonderful internship systems manager. His name is Carter. And what he does is every week during a quarter, he sees which students are interning. And so he'll say, oh, Raymond is interning winter term. Awesome. I'm going to contact Raymond's supervisor to make sure Raymond is on site every week during the quarter. So if you leave early and Carter calls and he's like, hey, is Raymond still working? Your supervisor is going to say no. So make sure that you are present every week during that quarter for the internship. Your internship site and role will need to be reviewed and approved by the internship manager, Carter. This happens once you submit your internship details to Handshake. You will need details such as company name, supervisor's contact info, and a description of your job duties. This last bullet, if you and I have a great relationship, even if we have an okay relationship, you and I can do this part together and I can make sure you are squared away. So please, I encourage you all, when you figure out where you want to intern, when you figure out who is interviewing you, when you figure out, hey, I finally got the internship, Bushra, come see me. And I will be sure that everything gets squared away. We get you in the right classes. We make sure you're doing the right hours and you're golden. But you have to reach out to me so we can definitely make sure things are good to go. Next slide. Any questions for me or Jen? What are some questions you guys have?
And I will add that you should be best buddies with Bushra. She's a wealth of information and she's just great to talk to. So even if you are, excited about it, whatever it is, talk to her about it and she can help you get through it. And if you want to go on unmute yourself and ask your question, that's great. But you can also put it in the chat. I know that this is kind of an overwhelming process, especially if you guys are freshmen or sophomores. You know, this may be kind of a new thing. Oh, Jasmine, that's a really good question. Can I do my internship at my church helping teens? Absolutely, 100%. What we can do is kind of work with them to create a formal internship kind of program for you. But, you know, it's also cool to be able to like kind of branch out. So you may even want to look into, there's quite a few, if you want to work for a religious affiliated organization, there's quite a few that we're connected with, because a lot of times religious organizations are really, really passionate about social services and community engagement. So we have quite a few organizations in the Wheeling, Waukegan, Arlington Heights. I mean, no matter where you are, there's probably an organization that we can look into. There's Catholic Charities, there's Lutheran Social Services of Illinois. Bushra, what's the new one that we just started
World
working?
Relief has some locations that
World
some
Relief.
students are interested in.
Yep.
I think that, Jen, I mean, if I can just piggyback, I think that, you know, finding an opportunity at your church is great. And I can imagine that, you know, maybe you have one experience be at your church, so you're kind of with people that you know, and you're kind of learning about a little bit about professionalism and kind of dipping your toe into the water. But then let's do an internship that you don't know anyone, that nobody's going to cut you any slack because of the relationship. So it's definitely a good place to start, Jasmine. You and I should talk about it. Make an appointment with me. Reach out.
Oh, and Cole, you have a fantastic question. So this has actually come up a lot recently. So this is really up to you. If you are working with an employer that would love to have you before and after your internship, I don't see any reason why that would not be okay. The longer you can stay with an internship site and get additional experience, again, that's a valuable experience. That's mentoring opportunities for you to be able to kind of soak in every little bit of what's happening at these organizations, and maybe even try volunteering at different positions or different departments within an organization to see what different people do at the same organization. And so you can absolutely stay on after them. If they have a part-time opportunity that you could stay on with after internship, oh my gosh, that would be like the ideal situation. But your credit, so your hours for the course, wouldn't actually start for credit until the first day of the term. So you wouldn't be able to, you know, get hours, you know, 2 weeks before and then use those for your class, if that makes sense. But you can absolutely work for them, volunteer for them before, after, as much as you want to. I would encourage that.
And Jen, just to add on, if you take the student that I talked about earlier, how the employer wanted her to start, I think I mentioned like now, she would have to intern now until March, and that just wasn't feasible for her. So definitely think about your own personal schedule as well, and keeping in mind that you do have to intern that complete 10-week quarter. I will also add that there are certain organizations that just don't like having an intern for 10 weeks, and they would like to have an intern for a semester rather than a quarter. And that's just, that is the name of the game. I know that there are some business internships where they're saying, hey, we want you from June until December. So just think about that as well. Be mindful of that as well. There are some great opportunities, but they're just not going to say, hey, leave after 10 weeks.
That's a good point to make, Bushra, because a lot of healthcare types of organizations and organizations that work with patients, they tend to prefer to have interns stay on with them for a minimum of 6 months, which would be 2 terms for you guys. And that's just because they don't want to have so much kind of start and stop with patients, because you will grow and create relationships with a lot of these patients. And so keeping that as consistent as possible is usually ideal. It's not necessarily a deal breaker. So these are conversations and that you want to have with potential employers to kind of feel it out and see what they're able to do, see what their needs are and how those overlap with your needs and your interests. Cole has another great question. So computer science internships. Computer science, we have a lot of organizations that, let me go back to the slide. So Club Automation, it has a really cool CSIS internship, and there's a lot of kind of Chicago-based IT organizations that we work with, but a lot of their internships are virtual right now. And so they're open to all students no matter where they're located. So we can give you some very specific information, but it's kind of all over the map as far as CSIS is concerned. I mean, if you want to do programming, if you want to do coding, if you want to do, you know, apps, if you want to do podcasts, I mean, like there's so much out there that you can do. Just start figuring out and kind of jotting down ideas of things that you're interested in. I think that's going to help you once you start the actual search process.
And Jen, if I can just add
Yeah.
to that too. One thing that Cole, just keep in mind is that our CSIS major is pretty new. So therefore our partnerships are new and they're growing. With that being said, I know that Clarabelle, our employer relations manager for CSIS, has a good number of CSIS internships. And one of them is called Catalyte, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And what that is, Cole, is it's basically a training training opportunity. So it's not as I guess you could call it an internship, but it's more hands-on. They want students that aren't experts because they want to be able to train you. So eventually they hire you. I know that that's a great opportunity that a lot of students are going for right now. Just because they're like, you know what, yeah, I don't know much about a certain software or program. Let me have Catalyte train me on that. So those are some options. That is an option for students, definitely.
These are great questions. I'm really excited that you guys seem to be excited. Are there any organizations that you have thought of that you want to intern for, or maybe organizations in your communities that you would like to have us create a relationship with? I mean, we're open to ideas and we're open to suggestions and working with you. This isn't like, you know, we're the boss and we tell you where to do your internship. It's all about you. It's what you're interested in. That is our focus. So tell us what you want to do.
I always tell students that if you apply somewhere, you got to tell me. So then I can tell our awesome team of employer relations managers, hey, can you reach out to such and such organization because my awesome student applied. So I always tell students, just keep me in the loop. Keep me in the loop.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, that's what we're here for. We're here as your advocates and that kind of liaison between employers. So, I mean, that's the employer relations team. That's our job, is to create these pipelines, these connections between our students and different organizations, whether they're nonprofits, small businesses, giant corporations. We work with them all. So we need your feedback to make sure that we're connecting with the ones that you actually are interested in. You know, if you're a human services or psychology student, are you interested in working with domestic violence victims? Are you interested in working on immigration rights? Are you interested in, you know, only doing law enforcement? Or are you interested in, you know, working with the elderly, working with kids, working with teens? I mean, there's just, you know, the list is never ending of different things that you can work on. So just keep us updated. If you want to either take a screenshot or take a picture of this screen, this is essentially your support team, and we're here to help you as much as we possibly can.
And I just want to acknowledge that this can be a little overwhelming, right? Like figuring out your career, and then on top of that, having an internship requirement. But my hope, my honest hope is that when you meet with our department, you feel a little bit more at ease. I was going to meet with a student who's really interested in HR. She's a senior student, but she doesn't know where to start. And I said, hey, let's just meet with someone in the industry and let's interview that person. We'll start there. I have another student that's really interested in owning her own salon. Okay, let's meet with somebody who owns their own salon, you and I together. So think about that as being maybe a first step. Let's talk to someone who's in the field that you might be interested in and hear it live of how their career is. So again, I mean, it starts with a conversation. I'll reach out to each of you and we'll go from there.
Love it. So any last minute questions before we end the session? And again, this is recorded, so we will be sharing this out with Sam and the rest of the coaching team so that they can share it out with your classmates and your friends. We also have a YouTube channel, so we'll post it to that YouTube channel. That's really new and pretty exciting. So there's other videos on there as well if you want to check them out. And we have a website. Our CareerBridge website is kind of a work in progress right now, but there are steps here. These two links at the bottom of the screen are a step-by-step guide on how to submit your internship to Handshake once it gets to that point. And then the main page is just information about FAQs when it comes to internships at NLU. So thank you so much for attending our session today. And again, please reach out if you have any questions or concerns. We're happy to help.
Take care, guys.